How's it going, everybody? We are live on Facebook. First of 4 shows today. Actually, I think there's 5 shows today. Let me see here. Hang on. Let's see. We got Xing is coming on with her husband. They just got married like 3 days ago. That's the show that we're on right now. I'm just waiting for them to come in. Her husband's name's Brian Thiele. So then in 2 hours, we're going to be sitting down with Susan Bornstein. And 2 hours after that, Tony Love, who we've had on before, very cool. And then last show, well, not the last show, the 4th show is Dan Regan. Real excited to have him on. And then in the last show of the day, the 5th show of the day is going to be Morgan Lee being interviewed by Hung Nguyen, who is the second time for her to be moderating, sitting in this chair. Hung is going to start doing 1 or 2 shows a week and sitting in this chair as we work on expanding Soulogy. So she's going to be interviewing the mysterious, doesn't like to be on camera, Morgan Lee. So I'm just waiting for Xing and Brian to come. They live out in the middle of nowhere. I think that might be them there. Let's see. That's Jennifer Perez. So if Xing and Brian can't make it because they live out in the middle of nowhere, they might be having reception issues. Jennifer Perez has agreed to come on. So I'm just going to share this out a little bit and give it a few more minutes, and then we'll have to improvise and figure something else out. We are live on Facebook, right? Yeah, I don't see it on the page. Oh, there it is. Okay. So yeah, let me pull up the comments because I can't see what anybody's talking about. I see Ana Maria Garcia's there, my old friend. How you doing, sweetheart? Let's see. Jennifer says she's speaking to me in light language. I think that means no, she's not coming on. But yeah, so if Xing and Brian are having problems with reception, then we'll do something. I think it's a good time to be broadcasting. It's a good time to be sharing code, sharing experiences, you know, and focusing on the light. Let's see what Jennifer says. She's in the Zoom room. I'm from the same place as Morgan. Jennifer Perez is from Adelaide, Australia, and I don't know if you're. I know you're either by marriage or Jennifer. You must have been born. Perez is a Latin name. Medina is a Latin name, and anyway, so she told me, and I'm actually Spanish and Mexican American, whatever that means. But anyway, Morgan told me there's no Mexicans in Adelaide, and I said, well, we're going to have to change that. It's Jesus' last name. So Jesus's last name is Perez. Is that right? So Medina is actually an Arabic name. It means like town square in Arabic. And I actually have about a quarter Perez House of David. I did not know that. Wow, that's trippy. I'm sorry, I'm having a conversation reading her comments. She says that the last name, Jesus' last name was Perez. Perez is the house of David. And when I woke up, or got reawoke or whatever, I don't know, 8.5 years ago, almost 9 years ago now, that was a big deal. That was a really big deal. The house of David was a really big deal when it came in, you know, because Jesus came in first, you know, and I was having like dimensional experiences. They were just popping up, and, you know, like souls were coming to me that had disincarnated. Please contact my mother, you know, helping them cross over into what I was shown was like the healing heaven. Of course, it's all metaphoric. Anyway, so Jesus came in, Magdalene, and then these 6 prophets from biblical prophets. And anyway, so they started spending, each one of them would come in and spend a couple of weeks with me, and they kept taking me back to the house of David and how Jesus had descended from the house of David, and so on and so on and so on. So that's an interesting synchronicity. Thank you, Jennifer Perez. I appreciate it. So we're just Ana Garcia says, your podcasts are like town square gatherings. So that's cool. Yeah. Ana's a cool lady. She's a very cool lady. She lives up in Wyoming. Let's see here. Summerlee Hayes. Summerlee Hayes, I just had a conversation with yesterday. She recommended a couple of people to come on to Soul Speaks 5D. Very nice lady. And we've already been reaching out. We've already reached out to the lady she told us about. I forget her name. But yeah, anybody that has any suggestions, send them to Morgan. Don't send them to me, because I've got like a list here that I'm still working on of people that I told let's get on the show, and I haven't got back to them. I can't seem to do a lot of 3D stuff. And besides, Morgan has a knack for bringing in the right energies to the show. I'm going to give it a little more time because we were originally scheduled for 12 noon Eastern, which was 10 a.m. Mountain Time, and where Xing and Brian are. And anyway, she asked if we could start 15 minutes early. So yeah, Morgan says we're totally booked now. We're overbooked. Okay, that's fine with me because I'm getting tired. Joanne Palladino, I will be on Tuesday, March 24th. Look forward to being with you. Yeah, I look forward to being with you. What else is, Summerlee recommended Lori Ladd and Feel Good. And I actually tried to get in touch with Feel Good. I couldn't find an email. And so what I did was I put a comment like Morgan does. I learned from her. Put a comment on one of his posts on his page and asked him if he'd like to come on. I think I actually posted to his page. That's what I did. And it accepted it. I hope he sees it. So, yeah, let's just, I'll go in and change the, if they don't show up, I'll go in and change the heading on this live. But I'm just going to keep a lookout for her. I don't see him there. But let me see. I sent her a note a minute ago. Let me see if she looked at it. Hang on 1 second. And then if that doesn't work, we'll just move on to some other stuff. How about that? Let's see. Xing. Oh, EST. Oh, she's Pacific time. We have a problem then. Sorry about that. Eastern time and Pacific time. Oh, okay. So, okay. I thought you were in New Mexico, which I thought was Mountain Time. Okay, no problem. Okay, no problem. So, okay. I don't know what happened there with this daylight savings time. All right, so here we go. What else? Okay. So anyway, whatever. It's okay. Kiwi Carrie Schwed is in the Zoom room as well. I already have the link set up for this show, so if I get out of here, I'm gonna have to go create a new one, and I don't want to do that. Not to mention, wait, what does it say? She is coming on in a minute. Oh, she is coming on. Okay, cool. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, so yeah, we just keep. So one of the things that I wrote about or talked about a couple of days ago on this Soulogy news flash, which we've done 3 of them now, and they're really the metrics show that people really like them, or they resonate or whatever, on YouTube and Facebook both. In fact, on YouTube it's gotten more likes than any video we've done, the second one that we did. So I think we're going to continue to do those. One of the things that I really would like to see happen is well, let me say this first. I think it's a good idea for me to stay on here no matter how long it takes, or because you know, for me, as I was referring to in the last Soulogy news flash that I did 2 days ago, it's a good idea for us to do things that we align with, that make us feel good, you know, especially if they align with serving the collective. And that's what I'm here to do. That's what Morgan's here to do. That's what Soulogy is here to do. So for me, this is one way, you know, that I meditate or balance, um, you know, energies, whether they be collective or if I get triggered or whatever the case is. So, but, and so anyway, that's what I was talking about in that newscast 2 days ago. Was one, there's two things we can do. One is to continue to integrate and merge polarities as they're presented to us. And if we don't know any of them that are alive in our field, we can ask the universe, and we know that it'll present it to us if we pay attention. Sharon Joe Shattuck is having Irish stew and Guinness and cake. Oh my God, and listening, turn the heart music off. Sharon's a cool lady. And I don't really drink anymore, but Guinness is my favorite beer. If I had to have some alcohol, I think that would be what, and I don't really even consider it alcohol. I just love the way it tastes. Anyway, so yeah, the two things that I had mentioned on that broadcast was one, to find polarities and integrate them, because that just clears our field and makes a clearer channel for us. And two is to do something that makes you shine, you know. So that's why for me, it's good to get on here and, broadcast to my brothers and sisters. We're Delia Flores is in San Francisco, and she's at home. And for 3 weeks, I see San Francisco took some pretty serious steps there. But like I said on the broadcast 2 days ago too, we're not going to talk about, the fear-based programming that is dominating the internet and otherwise, nor are we going to talk about any savior programming. And I would just caution everybody to continue to question everything, anything and everything. Remember the words of Buddha? He said, don't listen to me, don't listen to anything or anyone, not even me, is what he said. And then he said, listen to yourself. And that's where we're at. So, this is where we're at. What was I going to talk about? Now, Maria Potsy's in the Zoom room. That's right. Only light can raise. Only, what was it? Jenny Smith's always got the quote. She says, only light can raise hell. But actually the quote is, nothing raises hell like the light. So I can remember a few of the quotes that I've pretty much gone to over the years. So Morgan said she was coming in a minute, but if she doesn't, I'm just going to hang out till she does come on, which would be another hour. That's a lot of talking. Or maybe I'll just unplug here in a little bit. But right now it feels all right. So what are we going to talk about? Oh, I was going to tell you, what I'd like to see happen. We try to get, Soulogy Network launched, on the net with a private server, private stream, everything, private storage, and we've been working on it. And our beloved brother Aaron Pearson, he was actually building it. Let's see what she says. I think we got the time except, but I'm ready as fast as I can. Okay, cool. So she'll be here. But anyway, Aaron was talking about. I'm not talking. I'm sitting here reading, doing two things. Aaron had spent quite a bit of time building the back, whatever you call it. What does he call it? The behind the scenes stuff, computer language, 1,600 pages. No, I didn't move to Hawaii. We used to live in Hawaii. But he with building from scratch because, you know, that's the best thing to do, to own everything and not be tied to anything. And it took him a long, long time. I mean, he spent several weeks on it. And then after we left Arkansas, his house burned down. So we kind of hit a wall. Anyway, this has been on my mind for a long time. It was given to me over, you know, 4 or 5 years, this Soulogy network. I didn't understand it, but I kept getting the information. They would show it to me in pictures. You know how that goes. It's not always easy to explain it or understand it, but over the years, I started to understand it. And 2 years ago, the Arcturians came in. I was in a hotel room in Houston, and they showed me that a big part of the Soulogy network would be 5D commerce. And they kind of explained that to me. Facebook doesn't work in the Netherlands. Wow, Maria Pozzi just told us that. Anyway, so after we stalled, you know, Aaron, and we're, you know, all healing, peace, love, and comfort to him and his family as they rebuild their house. He was able to save the server with all the work that he'd done on it. It's going to be a while before he can get back on it. He needs to focus on his house. But after that happened, you know, I didn't get discouraged or anything, but I was like, wow, why can't this happen? You know, and then I kind of got some information in that I don't have to do it by myself. I see you, Z, and I was told that it's a community thing. It's not about Todd, not about Morgan. So I'm going to probably do a broadcast today or tomorrow and talk about this. It's a community effort. And I'm just part of it. Morgan's just part of it. So Z's here and Brian's here, so you don't have to listen to me talk. So let's get it on. All right, let's see here. Let's see. All right. Beautiful picture. Let's see. Ask to start video and unmute. Did we figure it out?
Am I sideways?
No, you're fine. You're fine and you're glowing. Are you pregnant?
I think so.
Okay. My stomach was getting big too. I thought I was pregnant for a while. You know? and then we had this, you know, we connect every night. And hey, Brian, what's happening, brother?
Hey, not too much. How's it
going? I didn't get I didn't know who you were, and wow, man, you're this cool. Look at you. Look at you. But yeah, so I went to Z's page, and then I was able to track you down, and but I saw a picture of you and her, and wow, I was like, wow, this is some high vibrational, you know, auric frequency you guys have together, and you, Brian. I knew Z did, but like attracts like, right?
The infamous Brian is on the screen.
Yeah. You got it. Are you having trouble setting it? I usually put something soft underneath it, like a shirt or a towel.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, especially if you have it plugged in. You know,
is it because my screen is shaking?
Yeah. Oh, are you? I thought you were holding it. Are you holding it?
I am holding it.
Yeah. Do you have anything to set it on?
I'll set it on something. I'll make it happen.
Take your time. That's cool.
Let's see if we can just.
So Jenny Smith says Z did an awesome live last night on energetic sovereignty. I didn't see it, but that resonates. And isn't that what it's all about? Sovereignty, like on any timeline, any dimension, no matter what's before you. I am soul, you know. Oh, you ready?
Yeah.
It is an absolute pleasure to see you both. We hope to see you in the flesh later in the year, as we'll be I'm sure, unless something changes. I mean, we can only base things on what we know in the moment, because we know the universe may send us another direction at any time, right? But it's a pleasure to see you both. You know, it's so good to feel your energy, and that's, I was going to say all three of you, but I guess four. I didn't see that Lyrian.
The spot on the screen.
Yeah. Two nights ago, I was laying down with Morgan when we connected. Man, the Lyrians came in. I didn't even tell her about it. I had cat faces all over. I was like, what's going on? Must have been you. So it's a pleasure to see y'all. It's a pleasure to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure always to be here with you, Todd.
Yeah. So yeah, because this month Morgan got the download. Let's emphasize couples and what's going on with it, because it's becoming more and more part of our experience, and a big part of this transition is these couples bringing in this frequency back to the earth, and then of course there's the additional the wild card on top of it is some of them are having babies. Let's face it, these kids have got more to offer, really, and that's not a slight against anybody, but man, they're just coming in blown, man. They're not even talking verbally, and so have you have you connected with? I know you have, because I asked you last time. You've connected with the baby in the womb, right?
Yes, her name is Kara.
Kara.
And she's coming in from the Crab Nebula through the Cygnus constellation.
Whoa.
And the last time she was here was in the Mayan times. So she said she's been gone for a long time, and she's been kind of waiting and on vacation.
Wow.
In other places.
So have Brian, have you communicated? Have you heard the baby? Have you communicated with it?
Yeah, it's mostly like psychic and unconscious
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
It's more of a feeling than a verbal or direct message for me.
Wow. So Z, can you explain something to me? Because I know you're well versed in a lot of this stuff. So you said that, is it Kara? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Kara. So Kara said she was coming from a specific place in the cosmos.
Right.
Okay, so does that, I've got a couple of questions with this. Does that mean that she originates from there? And that's the only one I can think of right now.
Well, not really, because actually when I discovered this thing about the Crab Nebula, I was actually in a quantum journeying session where I kind of go out and do my astral traveling and work on that plane. And I ended up going out so far to communicate with this Crab Nebula as like a consciousness. It was like I was communicating with the entire consciousness of this being that was a nebula. And it showed me that it was radiating this specific frequency of energy at this quadrant of the universe, like our quadrant at the Earth and the solar system, and that its life purpose right now is to send this energy to assist us in our evolution. And it told me that my daughter had dropped by there on her way here to almost like bring a piece of it here.
Yeah, that resonates. I often get the impression that, for myself, okay, and actually Morgan, because of some of the shared memories we have, or whatever you want to call it, and it just feels that way. Like Brian was talking about, it's more of a feeling that. So like there's a galactic, or I want to say like the last stop was a certain galactic place, like a certain, like say Sirius or something like that. And then we came here. It like feels like the closest memory. A lot of people say that the galactic aspects are future aspects. I think they're past aspects, or maybe they're both. I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So that jives. So how did it? Oh, I got to ask you one other question before we start with you guys. So did you get your house out of the mud?
The house is out of the mud, but it's not habitable quite yet. I think it'll happen probably in the next 2-3 weeks or something.
It'll happen. It'll happen.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I mean, I know your story, because from the first show, and I have to apologize to you about not getting you that cutout from that show.
No, don't even worry about it.
My computer broke, and so that's one of the things I was starting to talk about a while ago before you came on. But so I'm on a backup computer that's just barely getting it done. But anyway, I can't do anything with it. But anyway, so we know about your history. When did you guys meet? Because I don't remember that part coming up. I mean, I know you were given this space in New Mexico, and did you already know each other at that time, or did it occur after you went to New Mexico?
Well, we met on 11/11 in Colorado Springs. I think Z had visited New Mexico a couple times before that. But yeah, it was just a super synchronous meeting. I found her through Quantum Conversations online. Shout out Loren Gailey. And then I just messaged her from there. I was like, wow, your message is super resonating with me. Like, this is what I've been looking for a really long time. And then we hung out and we just really got along super well.
Evidently.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So how long ago was that?
That was 1.5 years.
Yeah, it was 2018, November 11th of 2018.
So you guys are living in a secluded part of New Mexico that's, I think, 2.5 hours from a big town, right? And you're building a life fearlessly with plans on I think a community. Is that where you're going with this?
Yeah. Well, I think the land we have, I think we want to eventually have at least 80 acres on this cliffside property about 5 miles from where we're living right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that land wants to be like a ground crew activation, starseed magic school sort of deal. And also obviously permaculture and eco future bioresonant architecture and things like this. Our newest download is that we're actually going to be organizing a gathering in September over the 9/11 gateway.
Oh my God, I just got chills on that. You sent me a note on that, but I just got big chills, like a big picture of that. Yeah, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. So now when you say, okay, so obviously both of you guys are extremely high vibrational. And I know from, like attracts like, and I've had 2 conversations with Z, and not to mention up here, so which is happening right now, by the way. Both of you are standing there. Actually, there's 3. Kara's there too. So when you guys, now, do you have like a set way that every day, like a ritual that you do at a certain time, or do you meditate together, or does it just happen in the natural, spontaneous flow?
I think it just happens. We each have like individually our own practices or rituals. Like I'll get in my body at the gym or something, and Z is more of a meditator. I don't find that like stationary meditation is really for my body type or my energy. It really helps me to like move around and do some yoga and breathing and stuff like that. But yeah, we also ground down together at the end of the day, always just get on the same page, touch base. And the beginning. Yeah, it's beginning and end of the day is kind of a ritual together, I guess.
Yeah, right on. Right on. Another thing that and I totally identify with you, Brian. I'm not into sitting and meditating. we connect every night, and it's okay with me because I can lay down, and we hold hands, and then we hit the cosmos and the ether. So and another thing that's a big subject, or I guess one that's coming to the surface, is the power of the creative power of true sexuality, sacred sexuality. And I know you guys are young, but I mean, have you noticed a difference in your intimacy compared to where you were before, say before you met? Is there a difference? Yeah. I know the results can be the same, obviously. You don't have to answer that.
Yeah,
You don't have to answer that.
you want a minute?
If you have some thoughts, you can share.
Let
Well,
me
I
go ahead.
well, our relationship kind of started off in a really good place because I feel like we'd both been doing really important work on ourselves, because I just gotten out of like a codependent relationship maybe like many months before that. And actually that was a very confusing thing for me that we ended up having to clear around a lot, because I had just about like 80 billion dreams about that person being my quotation marks twin flame. But that relationship was extremely difficult. And I feel like at the end, what I had all these projections about what a twin flame relationship would be like, all these like sparkly and pretty romantic ideas of what that could be like. And that ended up really hurting me in a really deeply profound way.
Yeah.
Because that relationship in a lot of ways was very karmic, because there was a lot of unconscious wounds that were still unaddressed, that were mirrored back, that whole situation.
Yeah.
So when I got out of that relationship, I decided that I was going to just focus on really healing myself and really loving myself and coming into recognition of what I was deserving of, as far as like love and stability and all those things. I really worked hard on providing those things for myself, and thus creating a good relationship with my inner masculine, of that part that provides safety and security and stability for myself.
Yeah.
And then at some point, I felt like I was in a place of stability and I was flourishing in a lot of ways in my own life. And that was when I, just randomly made this kind of funny list of things that I wanted in a partner. And I think it was not even like 3 days later that Brian reached out to me. And I think what these things is interesting is like, I don't think I was manifesting. I think I was more like reading like what the future was, right? Like, how do you know if you're like manifested something you really wanted, or if like that thing was just going to come and you were just like kind of, foreseeing
Like you were,
that.
yeah, like you were moving into alignment with it.
Exactly. And he had just been in India the month before, and as well, getting really into alignment and seeing visions of the near future that we had together.
Yeah, I was sketching these healing centers. I had a yoga notebook where I would take notes during class and stuff. And after class or in my free time, I would be sketching and like writing down all these different ideas for like healing center prototypes and blueprints and what we should have, and saunas and ceremony rooms and different yoga and all that stuff. And it turns out that is a common goal and initiative that seems to be a theme in our relationship.
Yeah. Far out, man. And so, and when I'm talking about intimacy, I don't mean like intimacy where we came from. I'm talking about, and it doesn't even have to be, it can be holding hands. It can be just the telepathy between the two of you, the energetic merging that's occurring at all times. So you just kind of answered it. I mean, this part of in all the couples that I've talked to, seem to have part of that third energy they create seems to be a joint mission, like Morgan and I, like you two. That creative force driven by that sacred sexual power, the connection between the two, the life force, creative creation seed. Yeah, that's a powerful thing. So Brian, did you have any um, inclinations or desires to connect with your partner, before you met? Were you thinking in the same terms, or had you just come out of like we all have, the toxic codependent circus before the sun comes up?
Well, I like to think of myself as very fortunate because Z is actually my first relationship and sexual partner all in one. So, yeah.
No, that's powerful. That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's extremely powerful because I know, what are you, like 20, 21? Huh?
24.
24. I mean, that's a powerful thing right there. We can just do a mic drop and we'll be done. But for a young person, especially a male, okay, because of the patriarchal, template embedded into this fishbowl of a realm, to do something like that is incredible. That's a powerful, energetic force. I mean, I went celibate at 49. Morgan went celibate about I think almost 4 years before we met. Out of when she got out of her last relationship, that was a powerful, powerful thing. She's been downloading sacred unions, sacred sexuality for 20 years. And one of the things that she talks about is the for the older people is the importance and the power of celibacy, and even celibacy as a couple for a while, celibacy period. But again, natural, happening natural, organically. So that's a powerful thing. My big props to you, man. I mean,
Yeah, it was
wow.
never like it was never intentional. Like it was just something I knew. Like I didn't consciously decide the first like 23 years of my life I'm gonna be celibate. But it was just like I never felt it with like there's opportunities and things like that. Like I went to college, I was in a fraternity.
Oh my God.
Parties. So there are opportunities ample.
Can you walk on water? I'm just curious.
No, it was just like I never had that feeling.
That's powerful.
You just like I guess I was just listening to the guidance, listening to my body. Like
Yeah.
it didn't feel right,
Yeah.
so I just never experienced that before.
I think that's a big contributing factor from the young people is they do pay attention to their feelings, and that's their GPS system versus all the bullshit, but that's a powerful thing. And I think that's what these young people are bringing in too. I don't know if I told you, Z, I think it happened after I talked to you the last time, but I'm out down in St. Pete, Florida, and my daughter lives here. And I hadn't seen her in a while. Anyway, she had a baby. He's 4 months old. I saw him at a drum circle a couple of days ago, but I'd seen him about a month before, and I went over there, and I was changing his diaper, which I thought I'd never change a diaper. I helped raise 6 kids. I thought I'd never change another diaper, and so he was screaming on the bed, and I went over there to see what I could do, and he immediately disconnected. He got quiet. He looked me right in the eyes and he started talking to me. Hey, we were on another planet together. And the same thing happened 2 days ago at the drum circle. He was just kind of, he was looking at his mom, and then eventually he focused on me, and then it started. I didn't really pick up any interpretation, but the energy of these kids and what you're carrying, this paying attention, you're feeling, being anchored in the true reality is really going to change very rapidly, I think, our collective experience. So thank you. And I don't know if there's a more beautiful couple on the face of the earth. So I can't imagine what your baby's going to look like, because it doesn't matter if it favors one or the other or both. It's going to be beautiful. And then, a lot of people in couple everybody wants that partner, whether they want to admit it or not. The only ones that don't want to admit it are the ones that have given up, because they've had their ass handed to them on a plate so many times. But it sounds like that, because people always say, how do I find my partner? And they spend so much time, like Z was talking about it, not that you were, but in other words, you had these certain expectations and certain beliefs, all this fluffy love and light shit, like it's all just a bunch of, but when you cleared all that you know, and I guess that's what I'm getting at. And it sounds like Brian was already there. You know, he pretty much was listening to himself and not anyone else. But that's pretty important to let go of all that stuff. It sounds like that was a big deal for you coming together, was having to let go of all that stuff. And I think that's great advice for people. Do you have any thoughts on that? Is that what happened to you, Z? I mean, you gave up on that stuff and then it came in?
Yeah, most definitely. I feel like, how can we be in a relationship with somebody else if we don't really know who we are as an individual? Because then we don't know what our needs are, what our desires are, or how this other person might even be able to fulfill us. And if we don't know about ourselves intimately in that way, then we will consistently fall for people that are not correct for us, because we're not connecting with people consciously. And I feel like this is an important part. One of the messages that wanted to come through about this is that, our sexual energy, it is very multifaceted, and it's not just for, having sex.
That's right.
Our sexual energy can be used, in infinite number of ways to create realities and projects and whatever it is. And sometimes when people come together, in society, we're trained to think that, oh, if you feel this attraction, you're supposed to just like get into a relationship and, have sex and, be in a romantic relationship or something. And that's something that consistently confused me. And I see it confusing people in the community as well, where, two people come together and they sense that there's an attraction or an interest or just actual sexual energy arising. But the truth is actually that that energy could be a response to a myriad level of things. Like, you could have a resonant trauma in that place. You could actually have messages for each other. You could have a co-creative project that you're meant to work on together. And so when people first come together and they feel an attraction, I would suggest to not fall into this belief that, oh, you're immediately supposed to be together and it's going to be this fairy tale thing, but actually to tune in and consciously recognize like what the soul exchange is. Because, and oftentimes, a lot of people that because we're working together, there's lots of people that's working together. And when we co-create, there's going to be sexual energy, right? How do we navigate that in the community? And I think the day that Morgan reached out to us, we had just gotten this massive download. We were in Sedona. It was after the 2/22/2020 gateway. And it was all about the purification of sexual energy and the freeing of sexual energy in community. And when I say that, I don't mean like, go and start a sex party and be a freak or anything. I just mean that, in our society, the suppression and the oppression of human sexuality and human creativity has been a huge weapon.
Yes.
So how are humans even supposed to be existing naturally? Right? It's like when you first meet somebody, you got to suppress the sexual energy because it's something you only feel in private, like it's something so shameful and bad. Or, women feel terribly afraid that if they have their sexual energy apparent, that, they're going to be violently attacked or raped or something. So say we have a very safe society, and actually it was Drumvalo Melchizedek's book that really brought this vision to me many years ago in his book Serpent of the Light, where he actually went and visited this island. I think it's called like Moria or something. I remember where it was located.
Pacific
somewhere
Ocean?
in the Pacific. So he said that, he had gone on many grid work journeys all around the world and done ceremonies with all of these indigenous people. Everything would be very guided by his team and the earth, and it would always be very, magnificent and specific. So when he was guided to go to this island with his partner, he recognized that this island was holding the balance for the masculine and the feminine energies on the earth. Actually, the shape of the island was a heart. And in the center of this island was this giant
Volcanic penis.
right, it's basically this giant penis thing in a volcano, which is like the meeting of the the penis and the vagina of the earth, basically. And what he saw was the native people there they're totally untouched by modern civilization. And they pretty much existed in, you know, absolute harmony. They didn't really have to wear clothes that much. They were all taking care of each other. They had these rituals where every day the women would go into the cave and all massage and groom each other and love each other. And all the men would do the same, you know, in the cave in the evening time. And their idea is that nobody would go a day without receiving love and affection from their tribe, and everyone would be taken care of. And then, of course, there are still monogamous relationships if the soul is choosing to experience that, but it wasn't so much of constructs that were, you know, installed into people.
It
And
was
so
organic.
absolutely. And I also saw that when I was in Bolivia, that we used to do these magnificent ceremonies where sexual energy was revered by all people as the living energy of creation. And when we have this level of adoration and reverence for creation, then we can actually respect sexual energy in that way. So, you know, as you can see, then our society is actually quite far away from that level of understanding and respect for life itself. And that's apparent in a lot of different directions. But basically, then, you know, we realize that we still got some ways to go as far as existing in a organic and free and liberated and sovereign society. But I feel like as far as community goes, that those sorts of things will be coming up as we begin to move into community. And I feel like for the majority of, you know, there has been a lot of intentional communities. And one of the questions that get asked a lot is, you know, why do they not work out? Why do they always fall apart? You know, why can't, you know, these communities sustain for a long period of time? Because there aren't a lot of, you know, completely self-sustained and viable intentional communities. A lot of them just fall apart, you know, after a few years of internal struggles and drama and things like this. And well, the reason for that is that, you know, in order for these communities to work, everyone have to be intentionally healing from the effects of the false matrix. You can't exist outside of the matrix, but still have matrix mind viruses, because, you know, the matrix sustains matrix slaves. So if you're outside of the matrix and still sustaining those viruses, then you literally don't have that energy to pull on. And so as we begin to clear and heal our lower chakras as a community, a lot of things are going to come up. And if people aren't focused on their own healing and their own excavation process, then conflicts and drama is going to arise. And for the most part, you know, that's kind of the key to having sustainable, intentional communities.
Yeah. Damn. Let me do another one. But I asked that question earlier. I thought we were going to move on, but you just slam dunked it. But you're right. And I know it sounds crazy, but one of the things that we've learned, hopefully, is that the best contribution we can make to the collective, because everybody wants to serve, you know, if their stuff is clean enough and they clear enough and they have some clarity of their own self-realization, is work on yourself. You know, what you do, you know, it's a within without thing, right? But then when you take it to where two or more gather, I think this is what you just explained is one of the reasons that these couples, two souls, are in the physical incarnation are so powerful, because of the creative explosion, the sacred sexual creative energetic explosions that they create. And you don't have to think about all the complexities and all the world affairs and all that stuff. You just focusing on, you know, on the connection. The other thing I think that you bring up that's really important is in these communities, if what you just described is in alignment, then everything else is going to flow from there. You know, the crops that you plant. I mean, think of the energy of the nurturing energy being transferred to everything, the whole environment. I mean, yeah, that's awesome. That's incredible. Now, you talked about why don't these communities work, or why haven't they have significant longevity in the past? It's a new day now, but and we could even say that about Atlantis, you know, Lemuria.
Mm.
It's the same cycle, or the same distorted template at some point. But when you take that down, because this is another thing that I think people are confused about. You know, one, you know, they've got to detach from their expectations. That's part of the process. You're never going to pull anyone in. You're going to pull in someone just like you who's basically attached, and there's a codependent frequency born, and that whole thing continues. But the other thing is that these couples just walk through life la-di-da. You know, like everything is, you know, you feel the energies that come in just like everybody else. You have a human aspect that's anchoring into the planet just like everybody else. There are obviously some big pluses with these couples, but when you when you're out of alignment, either one of you or both of you, or triggers or collective energy just hitting you, or whatever, A, does it happen? And B, what do you do? Because I know you come back into alignment at some point. Can you expand on that?
I feel like it happens pretty rarely.
Mm-hmm.
And when it does happen, I feel like the predominant thing that happens is taking responsibility for it in ourselves. Did you say that? That's true. Like just recognizing when it is like, because it's not rocket science, right? You're like, oh, I'm not feeling quite myself right now. Like, let me go use the 80 billion tools that I learned,
Right?
that I have saved in all my bookmark folders on the internet. Just like choose one.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
yeah, we process a lot of collective energy together as well. And I feel like at this point, you know, we both are just aware when it happens.
Yeah.
And we actually do use sexual energy to process a lot of that, a lot of those kinds of scenarios. And I also feel like segueing into this whole idea about, you know, how our bodies, we're designed to be creator beings. And I say that this teaching is like the mechanics of creation because we're relearning or remembering or reactivating our access to our awareness that our physical body literally processes and draws in cosmic creation energy that allows us to create things. And that's not the case with all living beings. You know, humans are specifically designed to be divine creator beings.
Yeah.
And so this process is very connected to our sexual energy because our sexual energy is literally the reflection of the cosmic creative energy that we can draw on. But it's not our only center of creation. There's actually two more. And in Chinese Taoist Qigong, we know them as the three dantians, you know, the higher dantian, the middle dantian, and the lower dantian. Actually, it's when all three of these centers are in alignment in response to certain creations that we can really fully pull the creation through. So it's kind of like advanced law of attraction teachings. And I will be teaching a workshop on this at the end of the month. It's a 3-day workshop. But basically, for me, how I experience things, and I feel like Brian's like watched this happen a lot of times where I'm like creating something that I'm really excited about, like a book or a new course or something. I'll literally like wake up at 3:33 in the morning, get this whole download from my higher senses, feel this like intense motivation and love in my heart to bring this through. And then I will start having almost these like energetic orgasms and I'm wet and like sexually aroused because my sexual energy is coming in to pull this creation through. And so when I'm in that state of creation, which is pretty much almost all the time, that is the natural state of our bodies. We're supposed to be in a state of orgasmic creation. Now, when you have another person who is also in alignment in those ways, it is double infinity.
Yeah. Well, it's not like 1 + 1 = 2, though. It's some kind of new math or old math that's coming back. That's a great explanation. Yeah, and it's true. I mean, I never thought I'd have 200 female orgasms in a 30-minute period holding my wife's hand. I mean, you're right. This is why it was suppressed. Because the thing is that the more we get into this, the more I realize we don't have to think about anything. Like Brian talked about the feeling, he just felt his way through celibacy. It was an organic occurrence. It was an aligned occurrence and sustained. And that's what I think is happening. We're understanding that we don't. I think thinking with the heart, so to speak, there's no thinking at all. It's just I guess a presence or something. But yeah, I love the way you described that.
Was that hard for you, or was it just like pretty natural? Like it
was pretty natural.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would have been harder, I think, to like engage in sexual activity when it didn't feel natural, like forcing that.
Yeah,
I didn't force anything. Yeah, it was very natural.
Yeah, very cool. Wow. So you did a good job clearing, Z. You picked a good one. You attracted a good one.
Thank goodness. I was gonna retire if
No kidding, right? I did retire. That's another thing too. Both of us retired. We both said to the universe, "I'm not doing this again. I'm not having sex again, unless it's got everything, and I'm not being in another relationship."
Okay.
But that it's God, like you talked about with what happens in the rare times that there might be a misalignment. You're practicing the same thing that we're all having to learn and master, which is to take responsibility for everything.
Yes.
And so on one hand, when you're with somebody and they're so aligned, yeah, there might be a little period of time where we got to get the bugs out because you're such close mirrors. But it's still the same process. It's still the same process. I mean, anything goes on, I might walk away and spend some time alone and just keep the focus on myself, whatever the case has to be. But
one thing that I've really noticed, in the human design system, Brian is actually a reflector. And I don't know how much this plays into this, and I have a feeling that it'll still apply if your partner's not a reflector. But I find that, anytime I want to be like, you're doing whatever, and like whatever you're doing is making me feel bad or whatever, like if I start like really getting into that, in about a few hours, I'll get this smack back from the universe being like, no, that was all you. Like, actually,
yeah,
it was actually not him.
I'm glad. I was starting to think that, I was not, not in the same category. I'm glad you said that. Yeah, I've had that happen to me a few times. When I was like, oh, Morgan this, and
Yeah.
including hitting my head on a door jamb at the perfect time, like I hung up the phone like that, and then bam. And then another time I was on all fours throwing up on the side of a freeway because I was, upset. But yeah, you're right. That's how it works. But isn't that beautiful? You certainly get the message, no doubt.
Yeah, and I feel like, as we're all recognizing that nothing is more nurturing than actually just love. Like, we can't force ourselves to grow. We can't force other people to grow. If we're really like, oh, you have to improve and you have to do this, then chances are there's something inside of ourselves that we're actually, saying that about. And that if we were in, our centered place, then we will recognize that, love is kind and patient. And that is actually the force that actually nurtures people to expand.
That's true. And I think the other thing too, which you're probably more in the reality of no time, because like with what we're doing, course, there's a schedule for shows, but like I can really feel over the last few months the linear illusion leaving. But I can imagine living out where you guys are living. I mean, it's how much more organic can you be? You know, I mean, the sun comes up and the sun goes down. You know, it's like perfect. I mean, do you feel the, for lack of a better word, the pressure of the linear timeline? Uh-oh, they froze, or did I freeze? Well, let's see. Can anybody let me know? Let's see. Well, it's about an hour anyway. Wow, what a beautiful couple. What an incredible, beautiful couple. I hope we get to see them when we head that way in the summer. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful couple. Thank you, everybody. I know they froze. So anyway, that's all right. So we'll just cut it. We'll cut it. We got 4 more shows today. Don't forget the mysterious, often rarely seen in public, Morgan Lee is going to be on. And the last show today with our new moderator at Soul Speaks 5D, Hung Win. So that ought to be very interesting. And we got 3 more shows between now and then. That'll be the 4th show from here and the 5th of the day. So thank you so much, Z. Thank you so much, Brian. Have you ever seen a more beautiful couple? Oh my God. If these shows resonate, please share. And also thank you for the continued love and support and contributions. I talked a little bit at the beginning of the show about the community effort to build this 24/7, 365 network. And I'm going to be talking about that as the guidance comes in a little bit more, because we can't do it alone. And those contributions, I can promise you, are all put right into what we're doing. So we do appreciate them very much. We do have a Patreon. If anyone's interested, there's a post on my wall. And also we take PayPal. So thank you so much. Peace, power, protection, big ass love. And that all comes from yourself, not from somebody else. Peace out.